Hey everybody, it's Roger with Kinsta. Today I'm joined with my friend Katie from Barn 2. Hey Katie, how are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to have you back. Today we wanted to talk specifically about, if you're an agency, figuring out maybe how to productize and create a WordPress plugin, for example. I know you talk about this a lot on a lot of different shows. And so today we're going to do kind of a condensed version, hopefully get some practical tips in there. And so I'm excited to kind of dive into it. But before we do you mind, just for people who are new to Katie and Barn 2, just kind of giving them a little background on who you are and why they should be listening?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Katie Keith, founder and CEO at Barn2 Plugins. We started off as a small WordPress web design agency back in about 2010, and then we transitioned into selling plugins in 2016 and have never looked back.
Excellent. All right, short and sweet. So, as an agency, and hopefully the agency owners that are listening to this are starting to empathize and kind of see themselves in your shoes. When you were doing agency work, what kind of websites were you building for people?
We did a few custom plugins and things, but the main thing that we did was theme-based websites. A lot of websites, you build them using a theme and they don't look as good as the demo. They look terrible. So we kind of specialized in actually making it look as good as the original designer intended, which most people are terrible at. But we also did have proper developers who could do custom work and things like that as well.
Excellent. Okay. And so what kind of clients were you working with? Are these more marketing brochure sites, or were you doing e-commerce?
Both really. And we worked on behalf of other agencies on white label and also to direct DIY website owners as well. So we did quite a lot of e-commerce. We did a lot of event and membership websites. Often people wanted to combine all of those things, e-commerce, membership and events in one website. So you'd end up with quite a complex mix of a theme and complex plugins that you had to make work together nicely, and maybe a bit of custom functionality on top of that.
All right. So you're already deep into building a lot of custom work for each site. And then at some point there was a light bulb moment where you realized, hey, we could create a product out of some of this. What was the light bulb moment for your team?
Well, it was a very slow process rather than a light bulb moment.
Okay.
So in 2013, we tried to launch a theme and Theme Forest rejected it, and we didn't think we would be able to market it independently. So we just gave up for another 3 years. But we always wanted to do products. And then in 2016, we were like, we just need to do some plugins and release them and see what happens. And so we just did it. So there wasn't a specific moment, just we somehow got around to it. And they started getting sales really quickly because of the marketing that we did. So that was really good.
Okay, and I think that's a really important aspect for business owners and individuals who are thinking about doing this, is realizing that it's not an overnight success story. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of repetition. There's some failure involved, and just kind of trying to stick with it. Can you kind of talk about the specific plugins that finally grabbed hold for the market for you?
Yeah, the trick for us was to go for really niche plugins that didn't exist already. And so our first plugin was WooCommerce password protected categories. So that does a very specific task. We got the idea from a forum online, and we didn't think they were likely to add it to core anytime soon. So we thought we'll build that. And because it didn't exist anywhere, even though it's so niche, actually people bought it. I published some blog posts, how to protect passwords in WooCommerce, and that got us to the top of Google because it was unique. So I think the trick is to find gaps, and everyone's like, oh, it's so oversaturated. But, well, I know loads of gaps in WooCommerce because I am close to it, and WordPress more generally. There are still gaps. So if you're an agency, then I bet you know gaps. You should do. What are you building bespoke for your clients that doesn't exist, for example? You should have these secret insights into the gaps that you can, hopefully for some of them, make into products even now.
I think that's really great advice too, because you're immediately finding that product market fit for at least one customer. And I see a lot of the times people are bringing products to market, and I'm talking to them. I'm like, well, who's the customer for this? And they're like, well, everybody. And it's like, well, that's not going to be helpful. You need to narrow it down. And so it almost feels like an advantage coming at this from the agency perspective, because you've worked with the product, you've seen where these gaps are, you've worked with customers, so you understand how they are looking at it and how they're thinking about the problem and getting it to kind of solve for them. Kind of jumping around all over the place here, you talked about content marketing and blog posts. How critical do you think it is still? I mean, 2025, are blog posts still as important as they were 10 years ago?
They're still by far our biggest source of sales. I think if you're still just getting started with a new website, then it can be difficult to get going. And we were lucky that we already had our agency site, which had some authority. So again, if you're an agency, maybe put your products on that website and create a separate area of it or something, however you want that to be navigated, rather than starting again with a new domain, because that is difficult. And if you don't have any website with any kind of authority, then maybe build links with affiliates and WordPress news sites and things like that who can publish on your behalf, because then you're benefiting from their authority. So I think content marketing is super important, but I understand that you might need to find other ways to get high ranking content if you don't have your own good website.
No, absolutely. It's a little bit marketing 101, blogging 101 is you've got to start from somewhere, start building, but then you need to start reaching out to other organizations that are similar to yours and hopefully start to get some of that link juice, the all-important link juice. For individuals that are, maybe stuck trying to figure out where they can find a new product and where they can kind of dig in, it seems like right now, from looking at like the block editor and stuff, there's a lot of gaps in how the block editor works. Would that be some place that you might advise people to look into as an area to find some place to maybe build something that could help a lot of users right now?
Yeah, that is a area where there are lots of gaps. My one word of caution of that would be that it's a rapidly changing area. So your product might become outdated fairly quickly. So if it requires loads of development work to launch, then it might not be worth the risk. So you need to think, is this product likely to even still need to exist in 3 years, for example? So when we did password protected categories in WooCommerce, we thought we can't see them adding that to core, and they haven't, I don't know, is it 9 years later or something crazy? And that product's still going strong. So the block editor, you've got a bit of risk from the platform itself and things that could change. And also the fact that they're just changing things so rapidly, like the hooks and filters and so on, that you're going to have to do redevelopment work. So that's going to increase your maintenance overhead, and you'll be forced to do work on things that won't increase your sales, which is always frustrating. So I think that is a place for gaps, but do it wisely.
Okay. I like the advice here. Do you also think that when people are starting out with this, try and find something that's relatively, not, I don't want to say easy or simple, but a quick product to build, so that they're not investing so much time and effort into something that might be deemed obsolete in the next release of WordPress?
Yeah, it depends on the level of risk. So that was one of the beauties of our password protected categories plugin, that it was actually really quite easy to develop and it was unique. So that's the perfect combination. If it's something that has platform risk on a significant scale, then again, probably don't spend too long developing it. Whereas if it's a really big idea and you've got a really good business plan, you think it's likely to be very successful, then yes, spend longer. And I know that I'm a bit cautious. I'm not that sort of product person that spends a year building a product and then does a huge launch. Like, for example, you've got Kevin Geary and Etch, which I think is a page builder or similar, that he's done, and he's put so much resources into it and he's built amazing hype. I wouldn't be capable of doing something like that. So you have to know where your skills are, and mine are in building niche products that target a specific audience, and I know how to market those.
Again, this is amazing advice, hits by hits you're giving us here. And I like, again, making sure that you're matching what you want to do with what you like doing is critical. So I think, those are great examples there of a massive product etch that we've heard a lot about. We haven't seen as much, but versus a quick niche product that you can get out to market, start generating some revenue on, and help you, if you want to move away from agency work, that's what it's kind of there for. As we kind of start wrapping up here, when it comes to pricing and subscription models, what's your advice for approaching that? What works? What doesn't work?
We do a lot of experimentation with our pricing. We do a huge analysis every 6 months of things like conversion rates, and then we might change a few prices, and then 6 months later we evaluate the impact of that. And it's not always what you would expect either. For example, we've got an easy digital download European VAT plugin, and that was not selling that well, and it was expensive for us to maintain. So we increased the price by two and a half times, and sales went up.
Okay.
And so it's now a lot more profitable. It's worth our time to maintain, and you wouldn't think it. So I don't know, somehow we were competing with them, maybe the VAT SaaS products or something on price, and it made it more more trustable or something. I don't know. So you never know. So I'm not saying just increase your prices. I'm saying experiment and look for evidence.
No, absolutely. That again, great advice. Look at the data, but that is very interesting. Raising your prices that high and then seeing an increase, that's always nice to see. Katie, thank you so much for your time. I want to keep this short and sweet, but before we're out of here, I know you have some new news that recently came out. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, so we've just partnered with a product called Setore, which is a WooCommerce bulk editor. I've known about Setore for years and always thought it was the best way to bulk edit products, which is really difficult in WooCommerce itself. Recently, everything happens through Twitter for me. So the owner of Setore just tweeted that he was thinking of doing a Shopify version, but he wanted a partner for it. And I didn't know if it was a hint or what, but I DM'd him and said, what did you mean by that? And because he knows that we're getting into Shopify as well at the moment. And we're now ended up acquiring 50% of Setore. So we've just launched that. So my current project, as well as the Shopify stuff, is to grow Setore and do better marketing for that.
Very exciting. Congratulations. And I'm looking forward to see what comes with all of that. As we close out, if people want to get in touch with you, it sounds like Twitter's the best way to get in touch. Is there any other way that they should reach out?
Yeah, so for me individually, it would be Twitter, which is Katie Keith Barn2. And for the company and to see our products, then there's barn2.com.
Excellent. Wonderful. Katie, as always, it's a pleasure to talk with you. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with all of us. I look forward to speaking with you again soon.
Yeah, thanks very much.